Hi everyone! Welcome back to my channel HoliVibes by Rita. It's me again, with my next acrylic painting video. As the beautiful skyline already suggests, this time I'm taking you to Budapest. My last journey to this constantly changing city full of surprises turned out particularly exciting. As the city was vibrating with energy, I called my picture Vibrant Hungary. So please enjoy the creation process. On the next clip, you can see my parents' small vintage-style garden that I sometimes, particularly during the summertime, use as a studio in a natural environment. So this time too, on my way back from Budapest to Vienna, we stopped by at my parents' house in a small town called Sopron. We seized the opportunity to cook a traditional goulash over a campfire and of course to start my Budapest painting session. By the way, the recipe for the goulash you can find by following the link in the box below. In the following seconds, you are going to see the materials I'm using for my picture. Such as a cloth to protect the table I'm painting on. Later I will switch to a plastic sheet. Further, a painter's tape, which helps to fix the picture to the underground so it won't slip out of position, and also in order to create a beautiful passepartout. And our draft appears magically with a flick of my fingers. Of course, I'm afraid it is not quite that simple, but let's move on. Regarding the challenges during the recording in plain nature, I have to mention on the one hand the changing light circumstances due to passing clouds. On the other hand, you might want to fix your canvas and paper properly if you are exposed to wind. And this little guy was caught while exceeding the speed limit during the recordings. So keep in mind that insects and bugs will pass under your camera, and not just under the camera but also over your freshly painted canvas, so take precautions before recording. And this is my self-made color palette, which gives me a quick overview of the different acrylic colors I own and which I can highly recommend if you embark on your artistic journey. Throughout this video, I'm going to share with you my observations and experiences while painting this picture and also the challenges I had to face. So make sure to stay tuned for the entire recording. So here we go. For painting the sky, I used the so-called blending technique. You might recognize this from my last video, Mexican Ambience. If you haven't seen the video so far, I included the link for you below. I really love this technique since you can create really beautiful visual effects. Therefore, I encourage you to try it out if you like experimenting with colors as I do. Also, you will find some remarks on the blending technique later in this video. And now to the painter's tape. Painter's tape can not just help you to create a passepartout, but you can cut it to the size and shape you need in order to cover parts of your painting you want to protect for the moment and paint later. As you can see, I just peeled off the painter's tape that covered the pillars when I painted the sky. On my first attempt, I didn't cover the pillars and I just overpainted them together with the sky, with the result that it came out differently than I wanted and I expected, so I tried it this way and I like how it turned out. On my mixing palette you can see my color choices. There are mixing palettes of different sizes and materials according to your needs. I am using a palette made of plastic, which should be used if you are working with acrylic colors. A wooden palette is recommended for mixing oil paints. The reason for that is simple. You can't wash your acrylic colors off from wood. Sooner or later your palette will be ruined. Now I'm using a fan-shaped paintbrush in order to achieve some nice effects for painting the trees and plants. Now, I know I have mentioned this in my former video, but repeating it won't hurt. If you are taking a look at trees, bushes, etc., you will find that they are not just one homogeneous tone of green, but they consist of many tones of dark and light green and brown and so on. So this is what I'm doing with my fan brush. I am applying different shades of green, yellow, brown and orange too, since it is a sunset. At this point I should mention that it is smarter to paint the tree branches and tree trunks first and then afterwards the leaves. The photo that inspired me to paint this picture was taken in the Fisherman's Bastion that has a splendid view to the Parliament building. Both have a remarkable architecture and belong to the city's landmarks. As for my journey to Budapest, on my traveling blog I extensively write about my adventures in 3 languages, English, German and Hungarian. I included the link in the box below if you are interested. But now, back to our painting. I have promised you some details regarding the blending technique before, so here we go. Maybe you noticed that for this painting I used a slightly different blending than for my Mexican ambience painting. For both pictures I used the horizontal wet-on-wet blending technique. But for the Mexican picture, I applied light blue on the paper with paint strokes from left to right. Then, while still dry, I applied a different acrylic color directly on the painted surface. For my vibrant Hungary picture, I first applied one color beneath the other and then blended the different colors into each other. Now a few words about the economic use of acrylic paint. I am struggling with this challenge myself, since it is hard to estimate in advance how much paint will be needed. In some cases, I am too generous. In some cases, I am too economical while applying. Either way, it is a matter of practice and experience to keep the balance and to prevent a waste of the precious paint. If you spoiled your picture in the process of painting, do not panic. In many cases, you still can rescue your piece of art depending on the mistake you made. For instance, sometimes mistakes, spots, stains and drops of water can be wiped away with a paper towel when the color has not dried yet. By now I managed to acquire some practice and experience painting landscapes. Which, of course, doesn't come from painting just one single picture, but many pictures. However, I'm not so experienced when it comes to painting buildings, stone and concrete. Actually, somehow I find painting buildings more difficult than painting nature. Am I alone with this? How are your experiences? You are invited to share them with us in the comments below. I mean, painting those tiny little details like the windows and finding the suitable color shade for the stone of the pillars was not an easy part. I have to admit I struggled with that a bit. I can recall painting those pillars was really demanding, above all painting the fluting of the pillars. And as funny as it might sound, it was hard to paint the straight lines without the aid of a ruler. And again, I can only repeat my advice from a former video. Mixing the color tone you want to achieve can be a time-consuming task. As I have a full-time job and I paint mostly in the afternoon, I didn't manage to paint the pillars in one session, so I needed more sessions. But of course, the mixed acrylic paint dried on the palette and I couldn't use it the next day, so I had to mix the tone again, which was hard to achieve. Conclusion? Try to paint the parts of a painting which belong together in the same session. However, I really like the dance of light and shadow, and I like how the parts of the pillars laying in the shadow and the ones hit by sunlight turned out. I really managed to paint details that are just as colorful and vibrant as they can get. As for my hair constantly popping up and hiding the picture and the camera shaking sometimes, sorry for that. I am working on it and I'm about to find a solution to these inconveniences. And now some words about varnish and a good advice in case you want to record painting videos yourselves. Don't apply the varnish on your painting too soon, but only after taking your final photo and after recording the final scenes of your painting session. As varnish makes the surface of your picture shiny, it will produce a reflection on your photo. It will be really hard to find an angle from which you can take a proper picture without a reflection. Of course, there are different types of varnish. You have the choice between glossy and matte varnish, and there are mixtures of them. The matte varnish might be more suitable if you want to get better pictures without reflections, but the pictures will not be flawless. Therefore, you might want to take those shots and records before you do the varnishing. Last but not least, I remove the painter's tape and paint the picture with a varnish in order to protect the colors. Pay attention, varnish is quite sticky, at least the one I use. It is better to use rubber gloves while applying it. Let's wait until the varnish is dry. And we're done. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for stopping by and feel free to subscribe, to share, to press the like button and to leave a comment. Take care and see you next time. Bye!